Hey, what's going on, guys? Anthony Predicts here. So today I have a new election video for you. And this one, I'll be looking at a Mike Bloomberg versus Bernie Sanders one-on-one Democratic primary battle, and kind of just giving my predictions for how I think the states will go, state by state. The only disclaimer I'm going to put at the beginning of the video now is I'm going to be giving Iowa to Bernie Sanders and New Hampshire to Bernie Sanders already, because those two states have already voted. And Mike Bloomberg, even though he wasn't on the ballot in either one of those states, those delegates would still go to Bernie Sanders, in my opinion and my prediction anyway. But I'm going to give Bernie Sanders to those two states to start off. But before we get into that, I first just want to say, if this is your first time watching my channel or watching one of my videos, please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And when you do that, you can tap the bell icon to always get notified whenever I post a new video. It really helps me out in making more videos for you guys and making sure you guys are interested in the videos I make and are interested in hearing the content I make. So I really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe so I know you're interested in the videos. Now, with that said, let's move on to the election video itself. So, as I mentioned, Bernie Sanders versus Mike Bloomberg, the state of Iowa. Bernie Sanders would probably win in a 1v1 matchup. I'll just say 53-47. Say about that's right. New Hampshire, Bernie would probably be about 60-40. He'll probably get more votes there. In the state of Nevada, a 1v1 matchup. I think that Bernie Sanders, would probably beat Mike Bloomberg, especially after the debate performance. Yeah, I think 55-45 would be about right, probably. See, this is interesting because there's only two candidates in this video, so I have to kind of make it proportional. The delegates proportional for how I think would win the two-way race. So this is kind of just me just kind of guessing, but I mean, I'm doing pretty much the best I can here. South Carolina is interesting because Joe Biden is favored in South Carolina, and Joe Biden plus Mike Bloomberg definitely has more than Bernie Sanders. I honestly think Mike Bloomberg would win the state of South Carolina. It'd be close, without a doubt, it'd be close. But I think Mike Bloomberg would probably win South Carolina over Bernie Sanders. So these are the first four states. Super Tuesday is a bunch of states, to be honest, so I'm not really going to do Super Tuesday because that's going to take forever. So what I'm just going to do now is I think I'm just going to start going from east to west, or actually, no, I'm just going to do random states. All right, so Maine, the state of Maine, I think Bernie Sanders would win the state of Maine. He'll have more of a connection. I didn't know this, actually. Mike Bloomberg is from Medford, Massachusetts, which is actually a town in my home state. I'm from Massachusetts, if you didn't know that. So he's actually from my home state, which I didn't really know. I always heard, like, Mike Bloomberg in New York. I never knew he was from Medford, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, Maine would go for Bernie Sanders. Vermont, without a doubt, would go for Bernie Sanders. No doubt in my mind. He'll win, like, most of the delegates. Massachusetts, I'm going to come back to because I think that's going to be interesting. New York, I think Michael Bloomberg would win the state of New York. I think him being mayor would probably give him a lot of delegates, probably about 58-41, probably be about a good margin there. Let's see, New Jersey, I think New Jersey would also go to Michael Bloomberg. I think he'll probably win New Jersey. Smaller margin probably, but he'll win there as well. The state of Pennsylvania, Bernie Sanders, Mike Bloomberg. This one, this is a weird call. I see Mike Bloomberg winning in the state of Pennsylvania very, very narrowly in this one, to be quite honest. The state of Michigan. I feel like Bernie Sanders was a surprise winner last time. I feel like he would actually do that again. It's not really great justification for the call, but that's how I think Bernie Sanders would win there. The state of Ohio, I think Ohio would go for Mike Bloomberg. I think the Rust Belt would be close for these two, but I think Mike Bloomberg would probably win there. State of Indiana, I'm going to give Indiana to Michael Bloomberg, I think. I think Bloomberg would probably win there. I think about 57-42, 57-43. State of Illinois, Bernie Sanders, Michael Bloomberg, big city mayor, popular senator. I just think, in my opinion, the socialist message, I feel like there's kind of a limit to that support. And I feel like Mike Bloomberg would be able to win more of the moderate Democrats than Bernie Sanders would, which is why you're seeing a lot of purple, a lot of Mike Bloomberg winning these early states. Oh, by the way, the cyan teal color, Bernie Sanders, and Michael Bloomberg's purple, This is on the other map I have. That's the up-to-date delegate map. I just took the two colors from that, so I took Mike Bloomberg's purple and Bernie Sanders' like cyan color that I have on the other one. So that's where I'm getting these colors from. If you weren't sure, the state of Minnesota. Minnesota, I would give to Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders is the right candidate to win the state of Minnesota over Mike Bloomberg. I think actually he'll have a little bit bigger lead there. The state of Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin would honestly go to Michael Bloomberg. This is gonna sound weird, but I think Bloomberg might win there. I think they would split the Rust Belt, but I think this would be very close. Um, yeah, the state of Missouri. Well, the South, I feel like we know how it's gonna go. North Dakota, I honestly can see going to Bernie Sanders. I can see Bernie winning out in North Dakota. South Dakota, I can kind of see the same. There aren't many Democrats up here, but there's a lot of progressive support for Bernie Sanders up here in the northern part of the country. So Montana, I would see going for Bernie Sanders as well. Yeah, probably about that margin. Idaho, I could see Idaho going to Bernie Sanders. Mike Bloomberg, we get that much. State of Washington, I definitely see going for Bernie Sanders. A lot of more left wing, socialist, progressive Democrats up there. State of Oregon, Bernie Sanders, I think would win it a little closer, but he would still win it over Mike Bloomberg. State of California. California, we're going to come back to because I think that's going to be a close one as well. State of Wyoming. Bloomberg's more moderate. Aren't many Democrats there. I think I'll give that to Bernie Sanders narrowly. I don't really know what to do in Wyoming on that one, to be quite honest. The state of Colorado. Bernie Sanders, more far left candidate. They tend to like those. Then they also like John Hickenlooper as well. Mike Bloomberg could make a play in Colorado. For now, I'm going to give it to Bernie Sanders very narrowly. 53-47 about. New Mexico, I actually think Bernie Sanders more. Well, Bernie Sanders has been a lot later in open borders and stuff. That could potentially hurt him against Michael Bloomberg. I just don't see that really happening too much, though. I think Bernie would probably beat Michael Bloomberg. The state of Arizona, I feel like it's kind of in the same category as that. Plus, I feel like there's also the Mike Bloomberg coming in and kind of like buying the election away from Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden and all these other Democrats. That kind of puts a bad reputation to his name. So I feel like that's something that would probably help Bernie Sanders out in a scenario like this. Utah, I feel more confident. I'd probably give it to Bernie Sanders, I'd say. Probably within under 60%, but still pretty close. State of Alaska, probably Bernie Sanders, I'd say. Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, more progressive of the state. Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard are pretty good friends. I'd say Bernie Sanders will probably win there. The state of California, do I want to go back to this yet? Oh, also, I think all the islands would probably go for Bernie Sanders, I'd say. Bernie Sanders would probably win these ones. Oh, I didn't mean to give them all. Probably like 10-3, I'd say. Yeah, 10-3 is probably about right. I'll just give 6 to him on that. Guam, biggest one. Bernie, I think, would win like 5. Bloomberg would win 1. Pretty much the same here. The only real contentious one's going to be Puerto Rico, I'd say. Also, I didn't hit the lock map button. There we go. Puerto Rico, I see Bernie Sanders probably winning narrowly, I'd say. All right, right now, Bernie Sanders has 949 delegates. Mike Bloomberg has 902. The state of Nebraska, I see Nebraska going to Bernie Sanders very narrowly. 56, 14 delegates to 11. Kansas tends to go with a more moderate candidate. So I think Bernie Sanders could win. I'll narrowly see Michael Bloomberg winning the state of Kansas over Bernie Sanders. That's how I just kind of see how that one going. Oklahoma, I think Bernie. Do I think Bernie? I think Oklahoma will probably go for Bernie Sanders. I'd say it'd be close. I think he would go there. Texas, I feel like Texas has a lot of Bernie bros, but it also has a lot of more moderate Democrats who would never vote for Bernie. So I actually see Mike Bloomberg maybe winning the state of Texas, to be honest. So that Bernie Sanders is up over 1,100. Bloomberg's right behind him in a very close primary race. Louisiana, I think Bloomberg will probably win most of the South, I'd say, over Bernie Sanders. I know even if these two candidates were running against each other, a lot of the Southern Democrats would vote for Bloomberg before they vote for Biden because they're not really too big on voting for socialists or even some views communists, depending on how you view Bernie Sanders. So, um, I think Bloomberg will probably win most of the South. And that's not me calling him a communist. That's just like some of the headline articles in the media. That's not my opinion or anything. If you want to hear my opinion on Bernie Sanders, leave a comment below saying you want to hear it, then I make me do a video on it. So Alabama would go for Bloomberg. Arkansas, Bill Clinton's home state, I feel like would probably go for Bloomberg. State of North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Georgia, I think would go for Bloomberg. I think it'd be closer, but probably about that, right? Florida, this is a big one. This would be close. I would say Bloomberg would narrowly edge out Florida over Bernie Sanders, like 52, 53, 47. I think it'd be really close. I do not feel good. All right. The state of Missouri, I give Missouri narrowly to Mike Bloomberg over Bernie Sanders. State of Tennessee, I give Tennessee to Mike Bloomberg. Not that much. Probably 57-43. State of North Carolina, I'd give to Mike Bloomberg. 58-42 is probably a good margin. The state of Virginia is not too big on far left candidates. Usually we'll go for the more moderate candidates. I think Mike Bloomberg will win that lane better than Bernie Sanders will, winning more of the moderate vote. West Virginia. Honestly, this is a surprise pick. I see Bernie Sanders winning West Virginia. I don't know why. I just kind of have that feeling that Bernie Sanders would win there. Kentucky. Honestly, I kind of have the strange same feeling as West Virginia. Oddly, I don't know why, but yeah, I can see Bernie Sanders winning there. The District of Columbia, D.C. This is an interesting contrast. Bloomberg's kind of buying his way in. I think that would actually go well in the state in D.C. Not too big on the establishment of Bernie Sanders. I think Bloomberg would win in D.C. Maryland, I could see Maryland maybe going to Bernie, but I could see Bloomberg narrowly etching it out. 54-46, very close. State of Delaware, Joe Biden's home state. I see Bloomberg narrowly winning that one as well. 58-47, 10-7 in delegates. So now we come down to these states. Connecticut, I see Connecticut very close. I think Bloomberg narrowly edges it out over Bernie Sanders. He has more of that New York appeal, which helps out with a lot of, especially southeast, southwestern, Connecticut, more southwestern Connecticut near New Haven and such. That's more of the New York vote. That'll tend to help Michael Bloomberg out over Bernie Sanders. The state of Rhode Island. Rhode Island. Honestly, this might be a shock. I'm going to give this one to Bernie Sanders. I see him beating Mike Bloomberg out over Rhode Island. State of Massachusetts. It's weird. My state that I feel like I might know the best. I have no idea how we would vote here. I mean, there's a lot of younger progressive voters in our state, and Bloomberg's kind of buying his way. I'm gonna give this one narrowly to Bernie Sanders over Mike Bloomberg, but not by a big margin though, because him being from here would help him in some way. In Massachusetts. Then it comes down to California. California is interesting. A lot of Bernie supporters out here. A lot of far left voters. Bloomberg's kind of buying his way in. He's got the money. He'll have all the billionaire votes, all the millionaire votes. And to be quite honest, I don't even know if that's enough. I think Bernie Sanders, the voters, will end up giving it to him. 55-45 over Mike Bloomberg. One of the closer ones. I think it'll go to Bernie Sanders. So before superdelegates get counted, Bernie Sanders has 1,866 delegates. Mike Bloomberg is 1,902. Very close primary race, likely heading to a contested convention. This is where things get interesting. If you're asking the superdelegates to choose the next nominee, 2016 was an early preview of this. I think 2020 will be no different. I think I see Bernie Sanders getting screwed over by the superdelegates again and giving Mike Bloomberg the victory. Mike Bloomberg probably wins like 65-35. The superdelegates or a margin like that. Bloomberg versus Sanders, which could end up happening. I see them giving the primary race to Michael Bloomberg, and I see a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters getting very upset, feeling they've been cheated and kind of screwed over in the process again. I don't know if this is going to actually happen because, well, A, it's not a two-way race. I don't anticipate it being a two-way race. But this is, I think, if it was a two-way race between Bernie Sanders and Michael Bloomberg, how I would see it happening. So I think Mike Bloomberg would end up beating Bernie Sanders in a primary matchup only because the superdelegates would sway at the end and give it to Mike Bloomberg. Otherwise, if there were no superdelegates, then I think it would most likely be a contested convention, and it'll be very interesting to see what would happen. So yeah, that is my election video for a 1v1 head-to-head Bernie Sanders versus Mike Bloomberg election prediction. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. Tap the bell icon so you always get notified whenever I post a new video. And I will see you in the next one.